Fellow film fans, what up? My name's Tay, and this is Tay Talks Talkies. This is episode 1, and I'm so excited to bring this to you guys. If you love film, if you love shows, if you love anything good that involves talking, people talking in some sort of medium, you're going to love this channel because I'm going to talk about all the good stuff, some bad stuff, and we're going to have some fun doing it. So definitely subscribe and like, and I appreciate you guys. So let's get into it. I'm going to talk about Jordan Peele's Nope. I was super excited to see this film. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see it upon initial release. I was away, but as soon as I got back from my trip, I made it a point to go and see this film, and boy, was it a ride. A unique film, very unique film. This is quite different from Peele's last two works. I think Get Out and Us were of that classic horror genetic where they really felt like classic horror film. And to me, Get Out's instant classic, a phenomenal film in general, let alone horror film. And Us was really, really good as well. Just hard to follow up a debut like Get Out. But yeah, this film's different in that regard. It's not a classic horror. It sets it up like it is, but the further the film goes, the more bright and in the daytime the things that are occurring are. And that's a really interesting progression. I definitely want to talk about the cinematography, the most beautiful film of his three. Gorgeous. How they filmed the nighttime scenes, I can only imagine they filmed it when there was still light out and they just turned down the light in the post, or brought out somehow brought out the dark aspects of the shots. But yeah, I don't know how they achieved such a beautiful glow in nighttime scenes. Other than that, they had to have had some sort of light coming, and that's all I could think of. But just the fact that, I mean, that's why it's movie magic. It leaves you wondering, how did you do that? And this film really had some beautiful nighttime shots. The most unique nighttime shots I've ever seen in film, and definitely impressive. But like I said, as the film goes, the more daytime and the more bright things get, and the less shrouded the mystery becomes. So the more all in the open it is, and that will reflect the theme of the film, which is the large theme, which is spectacle. And humans are just undeniable desire to spectate and just watch. Like when we see a car crash or just something horrible, we can have a tendency to want to just stare and gawk, but for our own detriment. It's not a good thing. And Peele really hammers this home with his motifs. It opens up. I'm just gonna preface this. I'm gonna go into details about the film, so if you haven't seen it, or if you don't want any spoilers, definitely jump ship right about now. But let's get into it. It opens up with a plot line that doesn't seem like it has much to do with the overall plot, the current plot going on, but it actually has everything to do with it. And it took me a little bit to really internalize this and understand this, but that's why Peele's work is great, because it really is something that evokes thought, and that to me is great art. So yeah, this film got me thinking heavy, and it took a little bit for the Gordy's home theme to really hammer, but it opens up with a really disturbing, I mean, more or less bloodbath of chimpanzee covered in blood, wearing a sweater, and a viewpoint from under a table, and the ape is just having its way with the people. And it's definitely disturbing what you see, and there's no music or anything playing, so it's that quiet, disturbing undertone of just like the stillness. Even when like something horrible happens, there's like that peace right after it. So really disturbing stuff, grips you in. Peele did a great job really gripping you in and making the viewer want to be like invested in what he was about to unfold in front of you. So yeah, great opening, Tarantino-esque in that regard. And it goes to the next scene, which is again something that really is chaotic and throws you in the middle of it and is disturbing. And again, just a completely different plot line, but still equally as enthralling. So we go to the ranch that OJ's father owns, and we see him talking pretty excitedly about a prospect of making money. And next thing you know, we hear something in the sky, we hear stuff coming down, and we see OJ's father fall off the horse, and then we get a shot in the car where just blood squirting out of his face, but we can't see where the blood's squirting from. Even though there's a shot that the camera has his face in it, it's distorted. The focus is on OJ, so we still can't really see where the blood's coming from. But then it cuts to him deceased, and we see that it was a coin that fell from the sky that hit him in the face and killed him. So we're already getting this motif thrown at us of staring up in the sky bad, and just another layer of that being greed can cause you to become blind. We can become blind by our desire for profit. So I like that undertone there. It's a little on the nose, but really cool. And again, just Peele's constantly throwing these motifs home at you, just really trying to hammer it home. And he sets up a pretty interesting story. Now we get to know the characters. I gotta say, the characters are written really well. So no character is like another. I think OJ's super unique from his sister Emerald. They're both siblings and they're both around the same age, but they couldn't be more different. And it's not really stated, but it's implied that Emerald moved away from the farm. She didn't feel like she belonged, and has like a more city type of charisma about her, whereas OJ has more of that country humility, more of like a quiet somberness to him. So it's interesting, that juxtaposition of them being siblings, and then there's really nice moments of them getting along, them fighting a lot, but then moments where it really felt like a real sibling relationship, one that had, it was tattered, but it was still connected, and some really nice stuff. And we learn about Jean Jacket, a horse that was promised to Emerald by their father, but because they got a deal to do the Scorpion King, he trained the horse with OJ, and Emerald never got her chance to train the horse. So we'll see that come full circle later in the film with what the main essentially antagonist is. So the main antagonist, I'm just going to jump right into it, is Peele completely flips the genre on its head and gives us a really fresh take on what an alien flick is. And this is where it's really interesting. It's not even necessarily a fact that this is an alien thing. It could be something terrestrial. So really interesting, but essentially turns the whole UFO alien genre on its head, and he makes the ship itself the organism. So super unique, super interesting turn. I wasn't even sure that I loved that, because my mind wanted there to be aliens. The scene on the farm was masterful, where the kids are dressed up like the aliens, and because I really wanted that to be the aliens. And then when the one kid pokes his head out of the side, it was like something out of a nightmare, something that I've conjured up in my head. But I realized post film that that's what Peele wanted. He wanted you to see what your mind creates is actually much more horrifying. The true form of the alien is that it's the ship, and it's something that's abstract, so abstract to us we can't even comprehend it. Like, I kept finding myself trying to really accept that that is the organism, and it was just like, oh my, it's so unique in concept that it was hard. But when it unfurls in the culminating act, and it has that form of like almost like some sort of aquatic, some sort of fish, or some sort of jellyfish type of thing, just beautiful and elegant. And that's, is it more horrifying that the monster is so elegant and so graceful and so gorgeous, and it contradicts what our interpretation of what the threat would be to such a degree that it's still hard to really even process it about a week out from seeing it. So really fascinating concept that he played with there. The story really takes a turn once you find that out. You are introduced to a character that is one of the best supporting characters I've seen in film in a while. Angel from Fry's Electronics. That actor did a great job. That character was entertaining, humorous, and brought the third dimension into the dynamic between Emerald and OJ, and it really was great to include him. And it really makes you realize how necessary it is to have good supporting characters as well. Every character in your story needs to be rich. So that is something that I think Peele did a great job with. There wasn't any characters that were really boring or bland in this story. It was a contained story. We get to Jupe's ranch and we meet Jupe. We meet his wife. We get the backstory of Jupe being that little boy that was hiding under the table. That first vantage point we got in the opening shot, we learned that was Jupe, and Jupe was on Gordy's home, and Jupe's playing it off like he's so proud to be involved in that catastrophe. But we get a glimpse, and it's great acting from Steven Yeun. Steven Yeun does a great job demonstrating this emotion with just a very simple facial expression when he's remembering what happened. He looks, I mean, just somebody who's not enjoying reliving that memory. Rightfully so. It's freaking terrible. But then he goes back to that smirk and just acts like, again, like when he was telling the story about the SNL skit and how accurate it was, trying to act like it was funny and cool. It was really just a really traumatic, horrible event. So there's something interesting that happens with Jupe. I think Jupe's a really fascinating character and a super integral character to the overarching plot line. He's the thing that ties together the Gordy's home plot line and the UFO plot line, or UAE, or whatever. So Jupe was the only person that wasn't killed, or at least brutally maimed by the chimp that played Gordy. And not only that, but at the conclusion of the 6-minute and 13-second rampage the chimp had, he was approaching Jupe to seemingly give him a fist bump. He was putting his fist out, but Jordan Peele does a great thing. He again plays with that motif of this is in the frame, but it's blurry. You can't see it. He has the tablecloth in front of the chimp's face, in front of his eyes specifically, to really keep hammering home that motif of you cannot stare. You can't spectate something. Don't stare at it in the eyes. They kept saying that about the horses, about the chimp, and then ultimately about the UFO. So it's a fascinating scenario because, I mean, of course, right before they get to actually fist bump, the chimp is killed. But Jupe attributes that fist bump to him having a special power of connecting to predators, to animals that are aggressive in nature because they are just at the top of their food chain. So he falsely attributes himself having some sort of special, uncanny ability to connect with these animals, and that's why he feels so sure that the UFO and him have a relationship. He really feels confident. He even says it that the UFO trusts him, and he's mistaken. He's not accepting the reality of the situation, just like with the Gordy's home situation, where he wasn't special. He was simply staring at the shoe, so he wasn't making eye contact with Gordy, that standing up shoe. The significance of that merely is it was just such a peculiar thing that happened. That's the only thing that could have taken little Jupe's eyes away from the carnage, was something that peculiar. It was something like a shoe just standing up like that. So a bad miracle, as they mention later in the film, as OJ says. But Jupe is he's a smaller person, so he's not a big of a threat as well. He's under the table in a fetal position, so again, not of a threat. And when Jupe finally does approach him, I'm sorry, not Jupe, when the Gordy chimp finally does approach him after the 6 minutes and whatever seconds of carnage, the chimp's exhausted. Not only is the chimp exhausted, his frenzy is over. The balloon popping, which initiated his frenzy, that adrenaline rush is probably pretty much all exhausted, and he's finally back down. That's why he slaps the hat off, and he's trying to slap and see if the girl's foot, if she's alive still. He's come down. But not only that, the tablecloth. Little Jupe is staring the chimp in the eyes, and so all these things come together to rationally explain that it's not that Jupe had a special connection. It's just that he happened to be the last thing that the chimp went to, and he happened to be not staring at him in the eyes, and it's just he was falsely attributing reality, which is his downfall with the UFO. It's why he gets himself, his family, and a bunch of other people killed in a really horrible, gruesome way. The UFO sucks you up and literally digests you, and then excretes you. Yeah. And they did a really cool sound engineering thing, which I really liked. When the UFO is flying around, you can hear the people screaming, and it's really haunting. It's disturbing. Gives the UFO extra personality, and it's pretty grotesque. So the scene where it's raining the blood on the house, that was beautifully shot. That was great. It was just a really well shot movie. The more it got towards a conclusion, the more I was feeling like I was almost wishing for there to be something else to it, but it was one of them films that just is what it is. It's a story about something that happened, and they just really wanted to capture the evidence so that they can make money off it, of the UFO, and it became a pursuit of that. But it was also personal, because when they found out that it's what dropped the debris that killed their father, it becomes more personal. And when the opportunity presents itself, OJ says that they're going to name the UFO Jean Jacket, and that's giving Emerald that one last chance to be able to wrangle her jean jacket, and get over that part of her childhood that's clearly still bothering her. She can finally wrangle a beast and her jean jacket. So I thought that was cool that they named the UFO that, even though it's just a silly name. But that's why the movie's awesome. It just doesn't make sense, yet it makes all the sense in the world. It's about us thinking things should be one way, but really they usually are different. And it's foolish of us to ignore clear signs and details just to make ourselves feel elevated to some degree. So that's why Jupe was a great character. He's a great foil to OJ. OJ's a great character because OJ is essentially the antithesis. He observes the behavior of the animal and he understands that, okay, I can't apply my logic to this animal. I need to observe it. I need to see how it behaves. So once he understood it was a territorial beast, once he understood how it feeds and what it basically it's operating like, then he understood how he can best it and defeat it. So just a story about observing, a story about how we as humans love to spectate. The thing that gets everyone killed is the fact that they just can't look away. And you can't really blame them. They're staring at something so unique and so incredible that it goes against everything in our DNA to look away. Humans are curious creatures, and imagine the conflict of having something like a freaking alien in front of you, but you can't look at it because if you do, it'll kill you. And it's a very interesting concept, and Emerald is faced with that at the very end. They bring home that concept full circle. OJ gives Emerald that look when they're training Jean Jacket when she's a little girl, just to let him know, hey, I know, I got you. Like I'm thinking of you. I know, and it was cool to bring that full circle with the UFO at the end. He was showing her, like, don't look at the thing, look at me, but also I got you. So that was cool. I like unspoken storytelling. That's the best type of storytelling. So really great imagery in this film. I have to, it was a film I really had to think about more, because certain things I was just like, gotta mention the Akira motorcycle slide. That was dope. And the form of the monster, the alien, the angel, whatever you want to call it, the form of it was really fascinating, because it was everything against horror. It was almost what Midsummer set out to do, was create just the most beautiful, vibrant, colorful horror film. And again, this is the least horror out of Peele's 3 works, but starts out with strong tones of horror. The way that when the UFO comes over, it makes the music cut out, spooky. There's one part where I wear my sunglasses at night song is slowed down, and it's pretty creepy the way that they do that. So yeah, just really original film making, and what more can you ask for? I think that in a day and age where people just go to a film just because it's a known IP or it's a character that they've seen in something else, so they just are going to see it. It's killing film. And movies like this, where it's the filmmakers taking a chance and making an original film, an original story. Not everyone's gonna like it, and I've heard people say that they didn't like it, but I think they're not thinking about it the way that, I don't like to say this because art, it should be as subjective as possible, but you need to go into it understanding what it is. It's a film that's just trying to elicit thought and also entertain you, but make you think, and definitely makes you think about what it means to be a spectator, what it means to be an observer. Jupe was calling, something that I really liked in the story was Jupe was calling the aliens the viewers, but in reality, humans, they're the ones being the viewers, and it just so happened that was just a beast that just needed to feed. It wasn't viewing, it was viewing for the sake of predation, but it wasn't viewing for research or science. So it's interesting, I guess, when you think about the detriment of looking at something for too long, and I guess when you really try to take advantage of any creature, it's going to bite you. So they showed that with Gordy. They showed that with the horse almost kicking them. They showed that with the UFO. So, yeah, gotta treat things with respect. And, yeah, so pretty much came up with a basic rating system. I want to do these review ratings. I want to have a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being the best film, 1 being just not even worth viewing really at all. And I came up with a loose formula that I'm going to keep toying with, but I think it's a good place to start. 4 main criteria of what makes a film good, in my opinion, or at least worth watching, is good acting, the casting's correct, all the actors really are bringing their A game, they're inspired by the script and the director. So acting, it's a huge part. Story, the story needs to really make you feel things, it needs to make you intrigued, it needs to have some sort of twist, turns, it needs to keep you guessing, it shouldn't be too predictable. It needs to feel like you experienced something, like you really went for a ride. So good story. Then we have originality. I really think originality is huge. I see too many films or shows that are just, they're good in principle, but they're not original. So if it's not original, to me, it's not worth rushing to watch, because it's not something that's going to really wow you, because it's something that you've seen something similar to. Now, there's exceptions, of course, when something's so good. Like, there's plenty of gangster films, but there's ones that just stand out. But for the most part, I need originality in my film. I need it to really feel like something I've never seen. And then the 4th, which is the look of the film or the show. The way it appears, the cinematography, the colors, the costumes, just the framing, just everything. How does it look? And we take all 4 of those components, try our best to grade them each on a scale from 1 to 5, and then add up all of our components, divide that by 4, and that's our score. So, I think that a 5 is a film that you should just drop everything, and as soon as you possibly can, go to the theater and go and watch that film. That's a 5. A 4 is a film that you should definitely go and see in the theater. You don't have to rush to go see it, but definitely go see it in theater. It's worth full ticket price. A 3 is a movie that it's worth seeing in the theater. It's a good movie, but you go see the matinee. Go see a discounted price. Go on discounted ticket day. And if you can't make it within the 2-month window, it's out. Yeah, you know. And then there's a 2, which is just wait for it to come out. Just, it's not even worth making an event out of. And then there's a 1, which is just pass, just skip, just, how does this? And that's rare, but yeah, don't want to be a 1. So we're gonna grade nope on this scale. All right, so let's use Tay's film formula and see what we give this bad boy. So when it comes to story, I thought the story was really good. I loved the way that Jordan interweaved the Gordy's home plot into the plot of OJ and Emerald in the ranch. I thought that was awesome to compare the Gordy scenario to the UFO scenario and those 2 creatures and the theme of staring them in the eyes and how it elicits predators to become riled up and aggressive. So I really enjoyed all that. I didn't feel like there was a scene where I felt really, really connected to the characters to a degree where I was either so overwhelmed with joy or really sobbing from just the beauty of a connection or the sadness of a moment. So I feel like for a great story to really be great, it needs those things. So I feel like I was missing that a little bit. But for what it was a really good story. Made you think. I'm gonna have to give the story a 4 out of 5. For the acting, again, the actors were fantastic. I thought they played their characters great. But there was no performances where it's like an all-time, wow, this person just, that was their whole life building up to that scene. So I have to give the acting a 4 out of 5. I can't give it a 5 just because there was no, oh my god, scenes where like an actor really blew me away. But they all did a great job and they were all fantastic as their characters. So another 4 in that regard. For originality, 5. Just 5 out of 5. Super original concept. Really blew me away with how original it was. And then the beauty of it, again, I gotta give it a 5. It was incredibly gorgeous. The nighttime scenes were some of the best ever. The beauty of the colors, the beauty of the canyon, the wacky inflatable arm guys, all their colors, and the color of the sky. There's just so many beautiful colors going on. Not only that, but the way the camera worked, the way it captured it all, really made the look of it just amazing. So 5 out of 5 for that as well. That brings us to a score of 4.5 out of 5 for Nope, which is, I'd say it's pretty much rush to the theater territory. 5 out of 5 is get to that theater as soon as you humanly can. But 4.5 is get there. Get there soon. You don't have to get there the next moment you have, but get there soon. So definitely worth going and checking out if you love film. It'll at least make you think if you're open to that. So definitely approach it with an open mind and enjoy.